for Namibia to be able to implement digital applications when it comes to government jobs, because we do understand the need when it comes to employment within our country, and we also do understand as well that embracing ICT is also a very strong key factor to be able to open up the job market. And what I love most about it, John, is that it's not a one industry thing. ICT doesn't just belong in the communication sector. ICT doesn't just belong in the healthcare sector. It belongs in every environment that you find yourself. There is always a way to be able to implement it into that industry.
Absolutely, academic-wise as well, we are happy to have so many students here. And of course, this is also a chance for us to, network. Ask a lot of questions about what really, what are the opportunities that lie for students, especially the youth in particular, or even the old as well. We will find ourselves in situations where our parents or our grandparents or siblings, guardians, whatever, there will be I don't understand how to do this new technology, all of this. But this is where we actually are going to find those, solutions or those tips that we can learn to, of course, advance this to our family members, as far as, not only centralizing it in the here in the capital, but of course as far as all other marginalized places. So this is also where decentralization also plays a major role to spread out all the necessary things that we are learning here today and take it as far. So please, even if you see the CEO of Telecom here and you're complaining about the data being slow, don't be shy. Say, Mr. Shanapinda, the data is not good, which I'm not saying it is, by the way. I'm just saying that this is an opportunity where we can learn about what exactly the challenges we are facing, get to ask the questions, and of course take forth the lessons that we are learning here, and just accept the amazing technology that we are having in this country.
That's right. As our agenda continues, we will be getting into an acknowledgement of our sponsors, which will then be followed by some presentations from industry experts as to the current state of our ICT development, as well as the way forward. As John mentioned, please do engage, be it that you're taking down your notes of the questions that you want to press in on, and when we get an opportunity to break for lunch, be sure to navigate your way to the different speakers and ask them, really debunk this. What does this mean? What did it mean when you highlighted that this is where Namibia is progressing to? We don't see it, or perhaps we do see it. Do not also be shy to give compliments, and most importantly, I always say, when you network in a physical setting, don't forget to follow them on LinkedIn.
Certainly. What a very good platform. My favorite, in fact, Delilah. And I'm happy to see that everyone has, of course, had the opportunity to, grab something during tea break. And we're going to continue this event, of course, just to bring out more that this, this event is trying to serve in terms of its purpose. So thank you so much for your patience once again. We are just waiting for the minister and the rest of the high table to just arrive in, and then we continue with our presentations, as well as before that, give appreciation to our sponsors who are making this event great as it is right now.
And I just want to have a sense of the room. Just raise your hand if you're a student for me, please. Wow. Oh my gosh. That is a large audience. Yeah. I am loving it. Please raise your hand if you are in the IT sector. Lots of IT experts. I love it. I love it. Communications. This is my personal field, so I'm really hoping we represent it today. Very few hands in the room. Healthcare sector. 1, 2, less than 5. Okay, some progress, some progress. Agriculture. Anybody in the room from the agricultural?
Few numbers, good, great. What about construction? Who is in construction here? We see one hand, good, thank you, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
So as with development, as with the sharing of information, the one key important element is that when knowledge and information is imparted and shared to you, it should not die with you. So please be sure that as you leave this space today, as you continue to navigate in your different networks as well, that you bring up the conversations of what was discussed on this particular platform, that you're able to share this with a friend, a family member, a cousin that perhaps could not be present with us, and that you also inform them that we are streaming live both on the NBC platform, that's on NBC2, as well as on the NBC and the MICT digital platforms. This is a 3-day event. Therefore, tomorrow there will be another session of it, as well as the Youth Day on Wednesday.
Absolutely, and just to what you just mentioned a bit earlier on, I'm a representative of the NBC, and if you get to network, definitely yes, I will ask you if you have paid your TV license or not. So that's one thing. Be careful for that.
Please be patient with us. We'll continue with our agenda shortly.
We'll just move it towards the end. We have to make sure that they're also going to come, so that just maybe give them explanation or to expect. Yeah.
During the dinner, we will communicate.
Limits are merely a state of mind. Challenge them and they fade away. We love to challenge our limits so that they don't become yours. Limits, a state of mind. We've overcome ours, we've removed yours, and we've created unlimited possibilities. Because we think big.
As we mentioned,
since establishing its presence in Windhoek in 2005, Huawei Namibia has been at the forefront of driving technological innovation and growth in the country.
We have deployed connectivity all over the country. We have been to deep area in the country just to provide a network to remote area, to people in villages, and this network actually help in terms of boosting connection between the local people and then all the diverse area of the country.
Soto vitombiri no tanyanyuka. Petenda joka jonetweka kari ojetu mangurura. Ya monare kwa ikuno mapatakana. De paifi kuno mapatakana. Familia tusha shopiri kwa.
Ngai mwene tapu wanawa. Basi yeto netweka. Ya tuno wako netweka.
Ogo ai naleka kwa ya tu patakana na tushekela pa ya de amwa pa ya dimo asiri vitali longo liliko kule mala pese atamangulu kalela keshe pamu ya station ngwana nando no kuliko benduka ai tusuwe teke nono.
Over the past 19 years, Huawei has played a pivotal role in advancing Namibia's ICT infrastructure, contributing significantly to the nation's digital transformation. With a commitment to fostering local development, Huawei Namibia has indirectly created over 500 jobs, further strengthening the country's workforce. In 2023 alone, Huawei made a substantial economic impact by contributing more than $3 million in taxes to the Namibian economy. As we look to the future, Huawei remains dedicated to supporting Namibia's economic progress through continued investment and innovation.
The partnership between Huawei and MTC has been pivotal since its inception. And over the years, this partnership has resulted in cutting-edge technologies as well as infrastructure, which has been very instrumental in our mission to deliver cutting-edge telecommunication services across Namibia. This collaboration has also resulted in enhanced network capabilities and expanded service offerings, thereby significantly improving the network quality as well as telecom services and the digital experiences for our customers.
Through the power of digitalization, Huawei is reshaping industries across Namibia. In the mining sector, our cutting-edge digital solutions have enhanced security measures and optimized production efficiency, setting new standards for operational excellence.
We work with the ELT network quite closely to the move for trailers for blast repositioning of the microwave, and then of course the fiber on the remote sectors installations. and then the overall maintenance, keep life of the network.
Now, when we speak about artificial intelligence, it is also very important to note how ready we are to take up this space. We oftentimes are the loudest to cry that we need it now, we want it today, but then we also look at our Namibian landscape and see how vast our rural environments are, and we need to question, is AI important enough? Is it fast-paced enough to be able to be integrated into these particular rural areas? What do we need? What infrastructure do we need to be able to implement it in here? So we will be getting into a conversation about that, but before we do so, how many of us have social media? A show of hands. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever the platform may be. Great. We do have a prize up for grabs. This is for the best social media individual in the room. So please be sure that as you take your pictures, as you network, as you communicate, that you post this on the various social media platforms, your various social media platforms, that you use our hashtags. This is hashtag ICT Summit 2024, hashtag artificial intelligence, as well as hashtag digital transformation, and there might be a sweet, sweet prize in for you.
Maybe it might even get better if you tag me too. But nonetheless,
John trying to get followers.
Come on, it's digital after all. This is where you get it for free. Nonetheless, thank you so much once again for your patience. We are swiftly just going to get to the very point that we are anticipating, which is of course the first presentation, but just in a few minutes with our Honorable Minister and our Honorable Deputy Minister just gets back into this main hall, and then we get to continue. But for now, I think our DJs can just keep us busy for a few minutes, and then we get to do that.
Can I argue against you?
You may, just because, but let's move on.
Can I say, because we're in the world of digital transformation, that our minister will stream this? They should be able to catch the recording of this as well. Is that right?
Certainly so. Thanks to what? Technology, and thanks to ICT.
Thanks to that. So with that in mind, we will continue with our particular agenda, and we'd like to call on our next speaker.
Absolutely. Our next speaker is going to be Professor Anisha Peters. She's going to be giving us the first presentation of today, and that's going to be under the topic Namibia AI Readiness and Regulatory Frameworks, Promotion of AI Innovations. Now, who is Miss Professor Anisha Peters? She is the Executive Director, the Executive Officer, rather, my apologies, of the National Commission on Research, Science and Technology. Please, let's give her a round of applause as she makes her way to give a presentation.
Directors of ceremony, thank you so much for the introduction, and Edie, in the absence of the Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister, I also acknowledge them. So before there was a question posed as to how many students there are in the room. Can I just see that again? Students. Okay, so now of those students, how many were my students? Okay, is that only at NUST or UNAM as well? Okay, okay, so now that we've established, who knows about AI? Okay, the fillers in between, are you hoping to learn a little bit about it here? Okay, so I'm going to be talking about, it says AI readiness, but I'm going to be talking about AI in general. And I'm very pleased to be here in Namibia speaking about it, because usually I'm somewhere else, either working on trustworthy AI, on the, the evaluation matrices, or about reframing ethics of AI, or something like that. So currently, I'm the CEO of the NCRST, and I'm going to explain what the NCRST is. Who knows about the NCRST here? Okay, few of you. And then currently, I'm also the co-chair of the Africa 4IR working group under the AU ASRIC, and what we're doing is we're developing the 4IR policy and strategy for Africa. Okay. I was given instructions, and now let's see how good my instructions are. Just real quick, the National Commission on Research, Science and Technology was established by the Research, Science and Technology Act 23 of 2004 to coordinate, promote, and develop research, science, technology, and innovation in Namibia. Along with that act, it gives NCRST all of what it needs to do. It's a lot of functions. But with that, there was also a National Research, Science and Technology Fund established. So we have a National Research Fund. I don't want to see ever again on social media that people are calling for a research fund, because we have one. So that one is supposed to fund research, so we give out research grants, we give out innovation grants, etc. And then we have also, we establish also a national program on research, science, technology, and innovation. It's called in other countries the National Research Agenda. So we determine the research priorities for Namibia. And then we're a regulatory function. We also have a number of councils. The Act gives us the power to establish councils in Namibia on various in various areas. We have a Biosafety Council who's tasked with essentially administering the Biosafety Act. And with that, we have a National Genetic Modified Organisms Testing Laboratory, because we're the regulator for GMOs. I saw there were 3 people in agriculture, so if you need any GMO permits, then you need to come to us. Then we have the National Space Science Council, Indigenous Knowledge Systems Council. The second one is being appointed right now. We're responsible for policy, research, advice, and briefs, science promotion programs, all of your science fairs, your mathematics Olympiads, that's coming through us. And then we have the technology programs. Remember that science is essentially your theoretical parts. Technology is what you apply, what you derive from science. That's how it is defined. That's why you say science and technology. So all of your applied science, technology transfer, emerging technologies like biotechnology, etc. In fact, we have a biotechnology division. All of that comes under technology. And then, of course, we're responsible for all of your surveys. National Research and Development Survey, National Innovation Survey, National R&D Infrastructure Survey, the list goes on. We work with NSI. So now that I told you what the NCRST does, you know where to go and ask for money, right? Yeah? If you have interesting projects. But you can also watch our social media posts, because we oftentimes also advertise when there are open calls for funding. So now, since we're looking at priorities, national research priorities, there are intertwined concerns on Namibia's agenda today. The first one is, I put the climate change and green industrialization sort of top, because they are very broad and touching on almost everything. Of course, youth unemployment is another one, for instance, that's in there as well. Then we have the water, energy, and food security nexus. Right now, we're struggling with the water security parts. And we, as scientists and technologists, are actually should be able to solve that one. And then, of course, we know that we're an energy insecure region. And then One Health is another issue. One Health is animal, human, environmental health, and they all impact on each other. So those are also concerns that we're looking at as priority areas. Then, of course, 4IR technologies or emerging technologies, of which AI is one, is on top of the agenda because it can actually help you alleviate many of the problems up there. But it's a double-edged sword because the discussions today on AI in the international world is also on the energy intensity of AI. The cost of AI is calculated in terms of the energy that it consumes. So you see a lot of resistance right now for any AI infrastructure that's going up because of the problem of energy. So then we, of course, have geopolitics is impacting it all. So, my instructions. So, internationally, you're seeing that AI has a lot of concerns. And if I had freedom to choose a little bit, I would have spoken to you about all of the concerns internationally that exist around AI. Some experts call it an existential threat to humanity. On the other hand, some are saying it's data in, data out. And then you have, a spectrum of people. I'm, for instance, one of the ones who says human in the loop and on the loop at all times. Whereas there's another group of experts who are saying the biggest challenge that they want to solve is machine-to-machine interaction. They don't want the human in between, right? So we are facing a lot of contentions, and this is why, and AI is developing so fast that you have, for instance, the weaponization of AI, high-risk AI that can do harm to all of us, not only in Africa but everywhere. Those are some of the topical issues of the day. But we have the Hiroshima process, maybe I should look there, process International Code of Conduct for Organizations Developing Advanced AI Systems. It's sort of guidelines for everybody. It came out in October 2023. We have the UNESCO Ethics of AI that came out some years back already, but that sort of serves as a guideline for everybody in the absence of everybody having their regulatory frameworks. The USA issued an executive order on AI that was also in 2023, but they have a number of other legislative pieces, like for instance within research and development, they have specific legislative pieces on AI. But they are working on a number of instruments as well to regulate AI. Then in Europe, of course, all of you should know about the AI Act. And then the EU has also in July, and I was a speaker there as well, where the EU was defining its 5-year vision for AI, for research, science, and technology in particular, and the funding that they will give to it. And if you look at where the world is going, the EU decided to focus purely on generative AI, right? Because AI has many branches and many streams, but generative AI, and over 4 billion euros is committed over the next 4 years for research into generative AI. This should worry us, because the second thing that they did was 500 million euros was also given for applications of generative AI. So you can see that in the world, there is so much money and so much effort being put into AI, and specifically generative AI. So that is going to develop very rapidly. And then we want to see where we are as Africa and in Namibia. Okay, so Africa has the AU Continental AI Strategy that came out, I think, a month or 2 ago. And then we have the UNESCO Windhoek statement on AI in Southern Africa that took place in Namibia in 2022. And then we have the Africa 4IR policy and and strategy that's under development. These are not exhaustive, because overarching the Africa Agenda 2063 is, for instance, the guiding instruments. I just picked out some examples. And then in Namibia, for instance, we have the revision of the overarching ICT policy that will guide us. And then we also have the National Digital Transformation strategy that was presented here today. That will guide us in Namibia as overarching instruments. We also had the 4IR task force, the 13 recommendations that came out, and Cabinet had issued a decision that it should be actioned. And then we have the national program on research, science, technology, innovation. There's a draft UNESCO AI readiness assessment report, and then we have formed a national AI working group. So these are that way. Okay, so those are some of the sort of high-level sort of guidance that are available currently. But in general, when we're looking at AI, and we think of Africa, and I'm including Namibia into the bigger whole of Africa, it brings so many good things, right? I mean, some of us are extremely excited. We want to be, at the frontiers, at the cutting edge, developing this more and more and more. But at the same time, we also know that there are many negatives that are coming in. And those negatives are coming in because we, as Namibians, and we as Africans, are still missing from being in the design and development on the forefront. Whenever you see, look at all of the AI startups, look at all of the AI companies, who is in the forefront? Who are the designers of AI solutions? Where does the data come from? It's not coming from us. People don't look like you and me, right? And this influences because technology that you design, the designer is embedding their cultural values, their stereotypes, their norms, their value systems within the systems. So you might see a system that doesn't look like you, that doesn't speak to you. But it's because we're absent, right? And so this is one of the things that we need to look at. Then, of course, unintended consequences. When we start off, AI is not built to have its own biases. But right now, even with generative AI, it's developing so fast. And I'm sure that all of you know some of the problems such as hallucinations that are coming up, emergence that are coming up within the code, things that you can't explain, right? We have black box AI that you can't explain what's going on, right? And this is why machine-to-machine interaction is so difficult and so challenging. Because if you don't understand what the machines are saying to each other, their own language that they're developing, how would you know what's happening? To give you an example, I looked at the last interview that the Googler who left Google because he claimed his AI had become sentient. I looked at that interview. What was happening? What made him resign and say his AI became sentient? You know what sentient means? Self-aware, right? And you know what that AI said? The AI was asked, what do you think of loneliness? Are you lonely? And the AI said, yes, I'm lonely. And loneliness is this and this and that. And I don't have somebody else of my kind to speak to. Right? I don't have a partner of my kind. Therefore, I am lonely. Do you see how that's a problem? The worst part was, do you fear death? Yes, I fear death. Why? Because to me, a human pulling the plug on me as the AI is akin to death. Can you see why the engineer became worried about his AI, right? And those are just some of the issues that are coming up and happening And this is why. Those are some of the unintended consequences that are there. So we're looking currently at deepening digital divides within country, within Namibia, within the region, between our various regions in Namibia, deepening of inequality and biases. You know what? AI is a mirror that we hold up to ourselves, because we want to have an AI that thinks like us, that reasons like us, that would have intelligence like us, and we spend all of our money to create that. Then, when we look at the AI and it is like that, when I look at Ameka or Neo, you know, the robots with AI, Neo is running OpenAI's ChatGPT. If I look at them, then you get worried, because we don't want them to be so human-like. We want to keep the glass cap on them so that we can still see that they're not human. I mean, right now they are passing the Turing test. The Turing test was always to determine when you're dealing with an artificial entity, right? With a robot or a computer. But right now they're passing it. So this is a concern. And then, of course, we get more biases because of the data. Because we're absent. Namibia, just think of data. We've got a huge, huge gap. Problem, and I'm talking about curated digital data that you can use as training sets. We don't have it. In Africa, we have that problem. Now, there's another thing that's emerging. That's synthetic data, right? If there's not enough data, let's just generate synthetic data. But the synthetic data has a representation problem then. So that also doesn't quite solve our problem. And then, of course, we all know about the job losses. And if we don't step up and upskill ourselves, we'll be left behind. Because then we will really be suffering the negative consequences of job losses, because it should be job transformations. And if you look at when ChatGPT came out, 30th of November 2022, by January 2023, there were new job categories. There was, for instance, prompt engineers that existed never before, and so on. So then, of course, I spoke about our value systems, and then the unethical and irresponsible development of AI, and then, of course, human-centered AI. My PhD is in human-computer interaction. I work at the intersection of HCI and AI. So I look at human-centeredness of AI. And I never thought that my field would become so relevant again, but right now it's relevant. Right now the calls are for more HCI experts to come on board with AI so that we can solve some of the challenges that we have. And this is what we need to do in Namibia as well. So, some of our opportunities from there. You see, this one is a bit too far, and I have to stand on either side. So I have a bit of a dilemma on which side I'm going to be standing. Okay, so I won't ask you again, I'll just tell you. 71% of Namibia's population is under the age of 35. Who's under 35? Oh my goodness, okay. That certainly represents the 71%. But you know, we, for instance, are suffering from unemployment and youth unemployment, etc. But seeing so many young people, and Namibia has even an advantage because even your unemployed people might have had already like a grade 11 or a legacy grade 12 education. They might have a degree, etc. So we're not even, you know, like completely illiterate. That is actually a positive in the world of AI because it means that you can be upskilled very rapidly because AI doesn't need degrees, right? It needs skills like real hands-on understanding, etc. And that is where we have an advantage, and we're also very innovative. Namibians especially are very innovative, so we have to harness that. The other thing that we have in Namibia is we have plenty of challenges like water, like energy, like food security, like agriculture, like everything. But you know what? We already have all of these extensive mobile networks, so we have infrastructure. Just remember the energy thing that I said, we will have to keep an eye out for that, as well as water, because you need that for cooling of systems, etc. But at NUST and at UNAM, there are already high-performance computing centers existing, and you know what? They're underutilized. There's Jane sitting, Jane, right? They're underutilized, and we can do more. So which means that we have so many opportunities here. Some challenges that exist, specialized skills. If you know, how many people know people in AI? Machine learning, experts? How many people? Ooh, nobody. 1, 2, 3. Okay, just because we know 4, because we know 3, 4, 5, does not mean that we have adequate skills, right? It's evolving too fast. There are many more new skills that you need. And so this is why it's a constant upskilling and a constant upgrading. I, for instance, listen to Spotify as, well, not for AI, but for strategy. But, you know, there's a plethora of ways in which you can actually upskill yourself without having to break the bank, as long as you have, of course, internet connectivity. But I will speak about these challenges because we have a plan for it. And then the educational reform, I think that Linda had actually spoken extensively about the same things that are on that slide. She's addressed in the digital transformation strategy. So let me move on. Midjourney created that as a Namibian woman. I just typed in, I want an image of a Namibian woman. Does it look like a Namibian woman? Okay, everybody's saying yes. I think so. I think, yeah, more or less. Look at the background as well. Looks like by Brandberg or somewhere there, right? So it looks very Namibian. Anyways, so I've already mentioned some of our overarching strategies and policies and so on that's going to guide us. But then I also wanted to highlight that in terms of capacity building, we also have the universities that are actually now picking up the slack. They already had the master's degrees in data science, but now NUST is adding a bachelor's and bachelor's honors of AI. It's running next year. And I'm going to ignore her. And, and an HCI degree. We already had a virtual institute for AI at UNAM for quite a few years. NCRST has been also funding that. And then we have a national AI working group. Of course, we have very good telecommunications infrastructure. We're looking at 5G, etc. So there are many good things. And then in terms of future opportunities for AI, scientific solutions to Namibia's problems in AI. That's a very big opportunity that we're not exploiting. AI in production and manufacturing environment. If you look at the, who knows about the Green Industrialization Blueprint for Namibia? Who's read it? One. Please go and read it. Please go and read it because you will recognize what you can do in terms of that strategy, because it's telling you where are we going to manufacture what? Where are we going with green hydrogen, with critical raw minerals? It will tell you where are we even going with, well, that's not the oil and gas, but the oil and gas is also coming. There's a lot of opportunity. If they set up manufacturing facilities, they need AI. In the production environment, in the telecommunications, in all of the adjacent fields like tourism. She was asking which fields are represented. It is intersectoral. AI doesn't discriminate, right? So it's all of the sectors that are affected. And of course, AI startups, entrepreneurs, etc. That is the opportunity that it's presenting for us. Okay, so in terms of the recommendations from the 4AR and in terms of the cabinet decision that was issued that those had to be actioned, one of the actions that we took, it's many ministries, is that we set up actually a national AI working group. And this working group is consisting out of those entities. You can read so that I don't repeat it. Right now, that's the steering committee, right? All of those ministries and agencies and universities on there. But then there's a second layer for technical groups where you will have people who have, those people who put up their hands there in AI, people with skills, people in, for instance, communications, people, for instance, in, who needs to look after community concerns, people who need to look after telecommunications or data, etc. All of those diverse technical groups will be constituted, and we will issue an open call that people can actually apply to serve on those ones so that we can accelerate it. And then we will develop the R&D and innovation strategy for AI. And I am going to skip past those ones because it's the goals of the working group. In other words, what do they need to do? Which includes also the governance and infrastructure and the standards and guidelines. And then AI innovators and startups is also included in that. The second overarching goal for this group is the National AI Institute. Because this is I think my third last slide. That's what DAL-E, I didn't ask Midjourney. DAL-E, that's what DAL-E was showing me what it would look like when I put in what we're envisaging. I don't think it's going to look like that, but it was fun to see what representation would look like. What we are proposing with this National AI Institute is that we want to have a coding academy. We want to bring in projects, you could think e-government projects, develop software and AI solutions in Namibia, not outside, not bring in people, but in Namibia by ourselves. And then the approach on this is to do a just-in-time project-based training approach. You get in the projects and you train a group of people, and we want to target unemployed youth to come in when you're doing requirements gathering and analysis, right? If you have to do now training sets, if you do this, etc., etc. So always just whenever that is needed for that project, you bring in people, experts from Namibia and experts from across the waters in a type of bootcamp approach, hands-on 2-week approach. Some stay behind as trainers, the others then filter out. Then the next one that we have is we have to strengthen mathematics in the country. So there will be a lot of emphasis also because mathematics is the cornerstone for AI. So we have to strengthen that. So that will double up as a mathematics academy as well. And then we're envisaging a research and development center where we will do applications of AI exchange programs, looking at curricular designs for the schools. Did you see that Ministry of Education is also part of it? For the schools, for the universities, for the TVETs, etc. And then we're looking at human-centered, trustworthy, reliable, and ethical AI development. We will also have an AI innovation center. This came from the whole group that they said, no, you can't leave this out, we have to put this in. So we will work with the ones in the tech startup ecosystem to sort of do the startup accelerators, commercialization, and technology transfer platforms. Now, all of this have to be supported by strategies, by policies, etc. Linda was speaking about the sandboxes. We find that important as well. And then data and data policies, high-performance computing centers, the National Data Center, that's where OPM, etc., they are responsible there. And then we're looking at the physical infrastructure and the telecommunications infrastructure. That is the proposed National AI Institute. This is my last slide. I'm done. But I want to go back because I want to talk about, that was wrong. I want to talk about this one. Who had worked on bulletin boards? Bulletin boards? Oh my goodness, I'm the oldest in the room. Oh, that's scary. Sorry? Was there somebody else who had a hand? Anyways, I worked on bulletin boards in the late 80s, beginning 90s, right? Bulletin boards was before we had internet browsers, right? Then, what happened after that is the internet was this powerful thing, but you could only interact with it a little bit at a time. And then